Darryl Strawberry, how are you, Straw? We appreciate the few minutes. What's going on?
Straw.
Good morning, fellas. How you guys doing back there in New York City?
Yeah, we're not bad.
Good.
So first one, before we get to the baseball here, so you're on the West Coast. You're obviously not going to be at this ceremony tonight for Pete. There's no way you could have made that, right?
No way I could make it. I'm out here for our charity for cancer tonight in California.
Okay, so there you go. And I know you sent the video in and all that stuff. Your record, Straw, was held for 37 years. What is it? Was it a big deal to you when you broke it? Who'd you pass? Kingman, right, in 1988?
Kingman, 1988. I didn't even realize I passed Kingman until somebody told me that. But I was more concerned about performing and staying focused, and I think that's what baseball is all about. I think, let's see, people will talk about the record, talk about how low it is, but you got to remember where this franchise was and what kind of players that had came through this franchise before I got there. There was a lot of players that came through that had success, but did they have great success? Not a whole lot. You couldn't have had a whole lot, being in last place year after year. And had it not been for development, Frank Cashin developing the farm system and developing players like myself, Gooden, all the players that came through, Lenny and all those, Mitchell, all the players that came through that were younger, and then they started to have this movement towards what was important in the organization for younger players to be able to come to the big leagues and be successful.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like Ruth or Hank or Willie or some of the other franchises, but you got to start somewhere. That's the whole point, Straw. Like, eventually, we'll see how long Pete is a Met, and that's obviously a very important point of conversation, but, he might wind up with 5 if he's not here forever. Soto will probably blow by his, and that just continues to elevate, and the number's not going to be 254 forever. Eventually, it's going to be 5 bills. That's how you get it up there.
That's exactly how it works, and we have to credit these younger players for working hard and getting there. I mean, so many former players look at the players today and they envy the players because of salaries. Man, they play baseball just like we did. We don't sit here. I'm not a player to sit here and critique players. I love the players. I encourage the players. Do the best you can. Understand the fan base that you play in front of. I think a lot of times people don't recognize the Mets fan base is incredible. They just have suffered for so long. And they're tired of suffering, they need winners. They need teams coming in there that's competing every year and giving them a chance to win and win. They need to win, regardless of how many numbers Pete gets, Soto get, Lindor get, Nimble get. You need to start winning for this fan base. It is an incredible fan base. I played there for 8 seasons. I know what it's like. I know what it feels like. And everybody's always trying to compare with the Yankees. You don't compare yourself with the Yankees. The Mets have had some players that are franchise players that are doing great things. And as you can see, we're finally Stevie is coming in there, and he's finally recognizing that the players that they have had here turn this franchise around to have a face. And now they have a face of players today that needs to be successful, and we need to pull for them. We need to encourage them. I'm a big part of this franchise. I love the franchise because I'm a homegrown player from the franchise.
And it's amazing. But, of course, Darryl Strawberry with us here, BT and Sal, gracious enough for some time. Obviously, Pete now the old-time Mets home run leader. You're one of the few, and I want to keep this to the Mets, but just as more of a statement. You're one of the few New York baseball players who was loved by both fan bases. I mean, how many other people could say that?
I don't think many can.
That's what I'm saying.
But I'm really thankful that I had the opportunity to play for the Yankees and play for the Boston, play for Joe Torre, and play among all those young players of Jeter and Mo and Sada and all those good players that they developed through that organization that made them great. And that's what, the franchise of the New York Yankees is always going to be an historical franchise because of what they have done for many years and the players that they've had for many years. And New York is the greatest place to play, regardless of what anybody say or think. I know because I had a chance to play on each side, and I had a chance to play in other places, but nothing like playing in the passion of New York fans. And when they speak loud. And if you don't listen, I mean, you can't let the noise get to you, but if you can't hear what they're saying about you when you're not playing well, there's something's wrong with you. You don't understand how great it is to play in front of people. So I think that's what I got a chance to experience and love about playing in New York because it's nothing like it. It's nothing like playing under the pressure. It's nothing like being in the spotlight. but you got to perform.
Yeah, and just I'm thinking of it off the top of my head here. I'm pretty sure you're the first position player, homegrown position player, to have his number retired by the Mets. Do you think, Straw, if you chose, for whatever reason, I know the Mets front office and then you wanted to go to L.A., whatever it may be, if you were a Met, lifelong Met, you think we would have seen 500? How much damage do you think you could have done had you stayed in New York with the Mets for your entire career?
Easily 500, no doubt about it. I had to stay focused, but I knew the organization was going in a different direction when you start getting rid of all the players that I came up with. And it's hard to stay with a group of guys that don't understand winning. And that's what was happening in my later part of my career with them, last couple years. Guys started accepting losing. I hated losing because I was used to winning all the time, and I was used to players that had a lot of guts. And that's what it takes to play there. When you get complacent and get comfortable with losing, then that's what it's going to be. And so I didn't really have a feel that the organization was going in the direction of winning and keep winning. So that's why I made that decision. Had I known about staying in New York, I probably would have went to the Yankees. I didn't know. If George probably was around, he told me I would have snatched you in the free agent market when you was a free agent, and I could have stayed in New York, but I didn't know, and I ended up going to the West Coast. And with that being said, we moved on from that, and just went to the place of the fact that I am a New York Met for the rest of my life. That franchise I played under, I was very successful through the minor league system and the major league system for them, and being an everyday player. I'm truly thankful for that.
Yeah, and the reason why I asked that, Straw, is not to say like, oh, regret leaving, but it's not like you went to the Dodgers and hit 30 home runs every year for the next 5-6 years. Obviously, there were some issues going on there, and maybe if you stayed with the Mets, it could have been different, and the production would have followed as well. That's why I asked the question.
Yeah, no, I understand that because my production would have stayed at the level it stayed at playing in New York. I was already accustomed to playing in New York. I already know what it was like to play in front of the fan base and run out there and have people scream for you and cheer for you and yell for you and have them tell you when you suck, and I think that's what a lot of players, that's what a lot of players can't deal with today. They can't deal with hearing the fact that you suck, but you do. When you do, it should motivate you to want to win. And I'm thinking with these players today, they have a chance and opportunity. You got a great owner. So there's no excuses. I mean, he pays well. He'll probably give you everything that you need. There's no reason why you shouldn't want to go out there and dominate and kick butt, against the other team. When I look at the other team across the field, I never wanted to be their friends. I was never wanted to be hugging on nobody, shaking and laughing with them. I came to the ballpark to dominate and whoop your behind, and that's the thought process you have to have, man, in New York. When you have a team there that can, I mean, this Met team is so talented. And everybody's talking about, well, what's wrong? Is it the manager? No, well, they don't have a lot of great pitching. But you know what? You got guys in your offense that needs to learn how to step up and be productive every night. I mean, I'm not saying the same guy has to do it every night. Somebody's got to do it, and somebody's got to you got to pick up the slack off of your pitching staff. I mean, we did that every night with the core guys that we had with Hernandez, Carter, myself, McReynolds. When we had those guys in our lineup, we were productive. Somebody would do it to help get us over the hump, and that's what baseball is all about. If you're not going to get over the hump, you're not going to win.
Yeah, but Straw, and I get it. You guys did pick them up a lot because you guys put up a lot of runs, but whether it was Ronnie or El Cid, obviously young Dwight, Cody, you mentioned some others. Clearly, I mean, those guys were stars. This Mets rotation stinks.
Well, I'm not going to get into all of that about how they stink or whatever. I mean, it's tough when you haven't been successful. We had a pitching staff that had been successful coming up underneath us. When you're piecing a pitching staff together every year to try to stay in the race and be in the race, that's hard to do. And let me say, I credit all of them for what they've done because you know what? They're still at the top. They still got a chance to win. It'd be different if they was like 15 games out. 5 games out is nothing. You're in August, and it's getting late in August, but you have a whole month of September. All it takes is to get hot at some point of each player to get hot and physically start doing what they know how to do and what they're capable of doing. All these guys are capable of doing. They just got to do it, and that's what's happening a lot. It's not being done. You get a run, you get a lead like last night, and 6-0. You got to pour it on. You got to put your foot on their face and make it 9-0.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Love it.
By the way, I'm still laughing. I thought of Strawman. I'm still laughing before when he says he didn't like shaking hands. Hey, he was throwing hands more than he was shaking hands, you know? And maybe we need a little mid-'80s fight to get these Mets out of the doldrums here, Straw. Come on.
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying they are in the time that they're not in the time that we were in.
Nah.
It was a different time. When we looked across and we looked at the Cardinals, we hated them.
Yep.
You know, and we know they hated us. And we looked at the Phillies, we hated them. And it was just the way it was. And it wasn't gonna be about we're your friends. We're not your friends. We're coming here to step on you, and we're gonna put the pedal on you, and we're gonna burn rubber, and we're gonna leave, and we're gonna get out of here. And we're going to be smiling when we get out of here. And that's the kind of, personality and attitude that we had as a team.
Good.
And sometimes you have to have that plan in New York that we're the best. You know, we represent New York. When you come in here, you'd be lucky to win one game in Shea. That's just the way we felt about it. If you come in here for a 4-game series, you might get one, you might not get one. But, we were okay that we got three out of 4. We weren't going to let teams that was not supposed to beat us come in and dominate against us.
Good God. Talk to me, Straw. Yes, we missed that. All right, we appreciate your time. I got one more before we let you go. So I don't know how many baseballs or photos you've signed over the years. Mets franchise home run king. Have you been asked to sign that over the course of your 37-year record holding there with the Mets?
No, I think because this generation of Met fans don't really know who I am. They just know from names.
Stop.
What they've been told.
All right, and people, to me, it's never a thing. Like, hey, Darryl, can you sign this for me? I was never thinking Mets home run king. So Pete Alonso was asked to sign a baseball, and I don't know if somebody asked him to write something specific. He wrote, Pete Alonso signs at number 20, Mets franchise home run king, down goes Straw. You have an issue with that?
No, I don't have an issue with that. Like I said, I'm not here to critique players, and they have their right to do whatever they need to do, and if that's the way he feels about it, then more power to him. Happy for him. He's a good kid. He wants to win. He's trying his best to do the best he can with what he have. And especially what he's been through. After going through free agent, nobody wants to talk to him. So you go back and prove yourself, and that's the whole point. I did the same thing in 1990 when I had to prove myself. Nobody wants to talk about contract, and they say, "Well, show me." And then it was my walk year, and I hit 37 and drove in 100-something, and there I was off and running.
Yeah, I don't like it for you. Down goes Straw. Come on, man. So how about this, Darryl? Instead of Willie Mays coming here and playing for the final 2 or 3 years, imagine if Willie Mays was an old a career Met, and you broke his home run mark. You gonna write down goes Willie on the baseballs? No way.
No, I mean I would never do anything like that. Like I said before, it's a different time, different generation. I'm not here to judge Pete or any of those guys. I wish them all well. If they ever, really wanted to know how good I was, they would really go to the highlight reel and look at it for real and say, man, this guy was different. He did something special. He just didn't hit home runs. He, played the field, ran bases, won championships, all-star games. He did it all, and did it with a lot of pride of winning. Because at the end of the day, you can have all the records and numbers you want, but if you don't win nothing there, it will not mean a thing.
There we go, Straw. That's what we're looking for, baby. How many home runs he hit in Game 7 of the World Series? How about those rings? Show that bling. Last one, Straw. You have any advice for Pete as far as being a lifelong Met? You think you should value that? Take the money. Where are you at with Pete once he opts out of his contract here?
It's hard to say, with today and with the agents they have and the market, what it is and what they can get. So it's going to be really interesting again to see what happens after the season's over, because he's going to opt out after this year because he's having a good year, and his agent's probably going to test the market, and he's going to get the highest bid. Whoever bid the highest, for his first baseman, that's where he's going to probably try to send him.
No, last year nobody bid except the Mets, pretty much. That was the problem for Pete.
Well, that was the problem last year. He's coming down. He had a down so year, and now you come back and you redeem yourself, and now you have the opportunity for yourself to put yourself in a better situation and say, okay, I can have all these different teams bid for me, and let's see what the Mets are going to offer me too. So that's That's part of baseball, man, today.
Straw, you're the man. We appreciate the time. Still the home run king in my eyes. This 46-year-old.
No.
Oh, no, 37 years.
guys.
Darryl, you're the guy. 37 years. I was an 8-year-old. Come on.
That's over. And, it's a new home run king for the New York Mets, and it's Pete Alonso. And congratulations to him, and all the best to him and his teammates, and as they go forward to bring something special to their fan base.
All class. Thank you, Darryl. We appreciate your time.
All right, guys, you got it.
I'll tell you, man.
But you got the competitive.
Oh, yeah.
You want to find out what I did?
Classy, took the high road. What I did take away from that is that, first of all, and we've said this, and we've known this, he's in a great place in life. Remember, the first time I met him was at SNY. He was over there a lot back in the day. I met his wife, Tracy, and I remember actually hanging out with them a lot at Michael K's wedding, right? And I got to know Darryl a little bit. I got to know Tracy, as my wife did as well. She saved him. I mean, she brought the religion. Like, she basically picked him up and said, you got to find a different path. And all these years later, Darryl's still on that path. So God bless him. Because like Doc, he was hanging by a thread. I love it. Number one. Number two, I also got that it wasn't like he was standing next to him and Pete's like, hey, Darryl, I'm going to write this, man. Down goes Straw. I don't think Strawberry's mad. But it wasn't like they were in cahoots on that.
He said it. I wouldn't do that. He said it flat out. Now, look, Pete's his own person. I guarantee you somebody probably told him to write. I don't think Pete's writing that on his own.
Yeah.